great background. So I'm going to start it out. And,
well, let me give it. You know what, Arnie? Before you are going to start it out, let me give you a little background on Josh, because Josh wants all of you to know this. Hey, Bruce Apple, how are you? Oh, and by the way, this show is a conversation with all of us. So we have the chat open. By all means, if you have questions, post them up there, and I'll take them as we go. And Arnie, and we'll put them in. We don't have to answer all the questions. We're just going to stimulate the conversation. Hi, Don Kent. So where is Josh? Oh, there. Josh is looking very interested. He's so excited. He is of the Kraft.
You don't need to read my bio, Donna.
I'm not going to read the whole thing, Josh. I'm just going to tell him a little bit who you are.
Right.
You know, there were some people who said, who's Josh? I had to tell him. I had to look it up and make sure I knew. You know how that works. Josh Kraft serves as the president of the New England Patriots Foundation. He oversees all aspects of the foundation's community outreach programs and fundraising efforts. I am sure he sits with his family on many other of the family's business issues. We'll talk a little bit about that. One of the great things about Josh actually is he started in a basement working on a project that which eventually led to the building of a building for the Boys and Girls Clubs. And he also runs all the Boys and Girls Clubs in the Boston area. So he knows a little bit about football too. He knows a lot about sports. He's a great sports fan. He's a great, I would say, enthusiast about Jewish sports as well. And so we're looking forward to a great conversation tonight, Josh. I'm just pumping you up, okay? And we're gonna lead with Arnie. Come on, Arnie.
Arnie and Donna, thank you for giving me the opportunity, and for everybody that's on the call, and wishing everyone good health and staying strong and healthy till the pandemic ends, which is going to be just temporary. We'll be back to normal before we know it.
Yes,
absolutely, we will. Well, Josh, I want you to know that, first of all, we've eliminated all New York Jet fans from tonight's show. So there are no Jet fans that are appearing
That's
tonight.
okay. That's okay.
All right.
They have a good quarterback.
I'm going to start with just kind of a easy football question, given what we're all looking forward to in a few months. Will we start on time in the NFL? Who will be the Pats quarterback? And are we going to look at another Super Bowl this year? Let's make it fun to start it off.
Well, Arnie, they're all great questions. And unfortunately, the first two are really hard for me to answer because I'm not involved in that end of things. Just based on what I'm seeing and reading, and actually I spoke to someone today who actually is a big contributor to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston, who's very involved in West Virginia football. And I said to him, is there going to be, he said, yep, probably without fans. So my guess is if college football is expecting to play without fans, I assume it'll be at least it's the same thing for the NFL. But that's not. Secondly, who's the starting quarterback? I'm definitely the wrong guy to answer that question. I know whoever he is will be ready to go on day one, hopefully, which will be that Sunday after Labor Day. And will we see another Super Bowl? Without a doubt. I don't know when, but soon, without a doubt.
All right, Arnie, does that help you get where you want to go with those questions?
Well, we wanted to get warmed up, Donna. You know, we didn't want to put Josh on the spot too much so early, but we warmed it up now. Now it's your question.
All right, so I just want to give Josh just a little. People are starting to identify themselves. We have a lot of Giants fans, Josh, just so you know.
That's okay.
That's what I say too.
Historic organization, great organization.
Although Mindy says she's a huge Patriots fan. Jim Nance was my uncle. Does that mean he's no longer your uncle? Jim Nance is a good friend. I know him forever. And Andrew Lambert says, I'm a big fan of the Kraft family. My companion's uncle played for the Patriots in the AFL days, and the Kraft family keeps in touch with their family to this day. Well, that's pretty impressive. I think that's probably a good jumping off point, Josh, because your family is known to be incredibly community-oriented and very philanthropic. So you got the philanthropic piece with the foundation. Tell us what's going on in this time of COVID where everybody really is looking for support. You know, what's your approach to the community and what are you able to do?
I think, and obviously we're in a historically not great time, but it's always remembered. But just to start big picture, whether we're in a pandemic or not, I think the essence of the Patriots is community. And it's great that you just heard, the alum, Jim Nance, is a player for the Patriots. The alumni, the New England Patriots Alumni Council, is just one of the many groups that forms the whole Patriots community with, obviously the team, the players, the administrators, all the nonprofits we support. Truly is about community, and those alums are such an important part of the Patriots community, and they do so much great work in the community too, the Alumni Council. So that's important because in the end, as my family and my dad always says, we're just the stewards for the team. The team is truly a community asset. And it's a vehicle not only to win on the field, but just as important, and I would think if you ask my dad, he'd say sometimes more importantly, winning off the field and investing in the community, building bridges with people. That's a big theme of the philanthropy, whether it's through the Patriots or the Family Foundation. It's about building bridges, connecting to people, building community, and giving everybody, access, no matter who they are, to hope and opportunity. And whether it's during a pandemic, which we can talk about, or not a pandemic, we're not doing our responsibility off the field if we're not doing that.
I'm just curious, Arnie. I just wondered, do you guys compete off the field as well? I spent a number of years in the NBA, and they competed off the field pretty, head to head on that kind of stuff. So do you do in the NFL as well?
Well, let's put it like this. If you're competing around community initiatives and making community stronger, that's better than competing on a court or on a field, because we're all going to win if we're all fighting to make the community better. So that's how I'll answer that.
No, it's good. It's good.
But
yeah, and Josh, Donna and I have seen in our career, oftentimes there's not total cohesion between kind of the off the field stuff that a franchise does and maybe some of the sports on the field. But in Boston and in New England with the Patriots and under your family's leadership and your leadership, it just seems like the football side, the community side, the charitable side, you are really one, unified organization. I mean, do you see it that way as well?
Yeah, definitely. The players, so many of the players you can count on to be in the community. I mean, whether it's Matt Slater, Devin McCourty, Dave Andrews, whoever, any and all of them, whether they're doing it for the Patriots, their own foundation, there truly is alignment. I know Donna, who I work with it through the Foundation and Community Affairs, whenever she sends out an email, we're doing this on Tuesday, or during the off season, we have this event. She's always flooded with responses. And, my family, my dad, when he bought the team, he actually put community appearances. We were the first, don't quote me, maybe the first team to put that in contracts. So it's very important. And I think that adds to that spirit of not only winning on the field, but winning off the field. And again, whether it's hospitals, shelters, wherever, the players love to do it. We did last August. I doubt we would do it again this year, but I don't think we'll be able to for obvious reasons. We did the bed zone bash where we gave, a couple hundred beds to kids that didn't have beds that were in shelters or foster care. And we did it at a huge furniture store here, Bob's. They were great. Players came out, and that's just but it's just the sense of community that I spoke about at the beginning is genuine and real.
Donna, maybe I could follow that just for a second.
Sure.
One of the things that we're going to talk about Boys and Girls Club and
yeah,
Israel and Judaism, lots of stuff tonight, but I want to kind of stay on this community side because I think especially given COVID, all of us, whether we've been in sports, not in sports, understand the importance of giving back and helping people. And I read along the way that in any given year, as the head of the foundation, you work with upwards of 1,500 local organizations and regional organizations to bring into the Patriots family and to help. I'm just curious, how do you go about choosing them? What are you looking for? And you've got to be incredibly proud. I mean, over the years of those kind of numbers of people you're helping.
Yeah, thanks, Arnie. Well, we're only any of us are as good as the people we work with. So we try to work with community-based or mission-driven, internally driven organizations that truly impact. And it's not about the top, it's about grassroots and community. And you mentioned COVID. One of the things that has been great for us with COVID is our Food for Vets program. And we've served over 2 million meals, well over 2 million meals, with our partnership with the Mass Military Support Foundation and Don Cox, the leader there. He's down there packing these boxes which serve 2 people for 14 days. And since shortly into the crisis, we've cranked out well over 2 million meals to homebound veterans throughout New England. That's one of them, but the point is it's a partnership with the Mass Military Support Foundation. And we have to partner. The only way we're really going to impact the community is working together. And it's working together with great organizations like that, like the Mass Military Support Foundation.
You know, that's awesome. And it takes a tremendous amount of coordination and work. I do want to mention that Sherry Levin says hello. She's on right now.
Hi, Sherry. How are you?
Right. So everybody here, Sherry's a Maccabi alum and coach, and she coached Josh's daughter at her school. Wait, what? At Beaver? No, at Beaver?
Yeah.
Yeah, at Beaver. So there you go, Sherry. Thank you for tuning in. So let's talk a little bit about your family. There's many ways we can do, but I guess I should have known this, Josh, but I didn't realize that your dad was raised as an Orthodox Jew. He has this affinity for Israel. We want to hear about what you built.
It was conservative, but it was more or less Orthodox. You know, Shomer Shabbos, all that, and Hebrew school every day of the week, and it was very important. Kehelet, for those that are from this area, grew up in Kehelet, Israel, on Harvard Street in Brookline, and grew up around the corner and walked there. Yeah, it's very important to him. And, you know, his dad is still, you can bump into folks in Brookline who were taught by his dad at the Hebrew school, or learned from his dad when he, at the synagogue. He was a volunteer. He did a lot of tutoring, I would call it tutoring, Torah study for kids. And,
right.
And there's still people that say he changed their life. And the most important thing to my dad was this Pirkei Avot, the sayings of the fathers. And he uses a lot of that in his day-to-day life, business, personal, professional life. He uses a lot of those, a lot of what he learned. He still quotes them today. You know?
Right.
So that's what it really, the whole religion, obviously, the culture, but that. And of course, Israel is so important to him and our family as well.
You want to tell us a little bit about the football effort in Israel?
Yeah, I can tell a little because I really only know, I know about it, but I can't give a whole story. But, the league's there. And the great thing about it is it brings together Palestinian and Jewish adults in the league, which is great. In Kraft Stadium there, there's a women's flag league. And then we have the bigger field that just opened 2 years ago, was that? 2 or 3 years ago in Jerusalem. And they play the football there and the soccer games. It's just cool. I mean, I know there's Giants and Jet fans on, but I will just say that the Patriots are Israel's team. I do know that. And that's always a great thing. So, Prime Minister Netanyahu loves the Patriots. So.
What about Benny Gantz?
Yeah, they both do.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. My dad hasn't. Well, I don't think he's gotten his clutch to that. Well, my dad knew Netanyahu when he worked here at Boston Consulting Group.
Oh, right. That's right. Anyway,
they've known each other since then.
That's a long time.
He's probably met him. But give him maybe this fall. By the end of the fall, he'll be sporting a Patriots hat.
Okay. Arnie?
We have a Redskins fan on who I won't identify, but he's making all kinds of comments, so we're going to ignore him tonight.
That's okay.
Hey, Josh, I just want to stay kind of on the Israel thing because most of us on the call, maybe all of us have been there. We've seen the stadium. And I mean, it's such a source of tremendous pride for all of us when we go there as Americans to see, what the Kraft family has done for Israel. I think one of the greatest things, and it's recent, just in the last few months, is with your father's winning of the Genesis Award.
Yeah.
He made the decision with other sports owners across the world to put funds into a brand new initiative to combat anti-Semitism and to combat the BDS movement, and really to gear it, as I understand it, more towards social media and a younger demographic.
Right.
I don't know if you could talk to that, but
I
it's
can.
such an innovative, wonderful idea.
Yeah. So there's two prongs, Arnie, and like you said, the first one is this whole social media strategy that aligns with our mission to combat hate, and not just to combat hate, but to change people's minds. If you simplify, and it's ages 13 to 35 is who you're going after, and they break down into three groups. Group one is like all of us on this, you don't need to tell us, we don't need to hear about the importance of Israel. We get it. We'll all die fighting for Israel, we will, whatever. Then there's a third group who we're never going to change. And I don't want to get in trouble and say so I'm not going to, but
okay.
You probably know what I mean. Then there's a group in the middle that don't know, might care, but don't know. And that's who we got to go after with the foundation. And that's what the social media, obviously it's there to combat hate, but it's also there to combat hate and to convince those who don't know, but need to know, and get them to align with all of us that are on this Zoom call, and everyone involved with Maccabi and whatever. At the same time, we're also, with the social media strategy, is we're creating, and this might be, we'll probably get the word out soon, so there might be folks on the phone. We're going to have some type of grant making for grassroots, community-based, on the ground, sort of in parallel to the social media, finding grassroots on the ground, community-based organizations, from a Temple youth group to whatever, to a Hillel at a college, to small nonprofits that are combating hate, specifically anti-Semitism, and maybe other forms of hate, so we can kind of have a dual parallel path. And hopefully the social media can feed those programs as well, so we can get the word out. So there's that huge social media component, which is essential, and then a quiet but on the ground one as well. And I think we all know the power of on the ground and being people to people, because over the last 10 weeks, 12 weeks, we haven't had that. And I know we're getting through with Zoom calls, no matter what your work is, no matter what your community engagement is. But we all know it's a heck of a lot more impactful to be sitting across from someone than to be looking at 200, 100 faces on the screen or whatever.
Right. So, Josh, I want to read you some more of this feedback here, but just want to follow up here. On this call, we have many former athletes, supporters of Maccabi. We have several of our officers. And, when we look at the Maccabi movement, I think we feel more strongly than ever. One, you have the sports connection, which I know you want to talk a little bit more about the power of sports, and you already have in terms of building community, which is so important. But it's never been more important to teach the kids that we're bringing along and the new community we're building about the importance of standing up for anti-Semitism. In their young lives, or there's generations who've experienced it, much less so, and now here we are yet at another time in our history that's being written where it's frightening. And if we don't stand up and speak for it, then really, who will?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My computer clicked off here. Can you hear me?
Yes, and you look great.
All right. I don't know what happened. So there we go. It's a scary time, and I don't again have to tell people on the Zoom call, I don't think any of us like to play the victim or whine or complain, but we all know that when this pandemic ends and we're trying to clean up from the economic and societal impact, that my assumption is, if I could bet on this at a casino, that there will be an increase. There's already been an increase in anti-Semitic attacks, but we all are pretty sure there will be one when this ends for whatever reason.
Yes.
We're trying to fix the economy. We're trying to, it's just, as much as we say, we can't let history repeat itself, it does. And it's been doing that the last 7, 8, we all know that anti-Semitism has been the #1 hate crime over, I think it's the last 2 or 3, maybe longer years, growing the most, growing in the way we don't want it to grow.
Yep.
I think a lot of that, and this is not a political statement, because I find both sides are completely, we elect people to represent all of us, not to fight. And I think the divisiveness has caused a lot from both sides, not just one side, has caused a lot of it. And it's fueled anti-Semitism for whatever reason. And, the left with BDS, the right with the standard, knucklehead, closed-minded people. And it's just going to increase. And I think it's so important that we don't let it repeat itself. And that's why this foundation is so important, to not only combat it through the airwaves and through the internet and all that, but we got to combat it on the ground as well and get people out there
I think
to get a message out.
I think there's a group here that is 100% aligned to build relationships and community with you guys to make this happen. So that is exciting. Let me just go here, the chat. Roy Kessel. Josh, I was an NFL agent, and the Patriots were one of the few teams that really required, community engagement as part of the player contract. Sets a great tone. So nice hearing from Roy. Andrew Lambert says, I'm an architect and work on buildings in and around Columbia University and see the Kraft Center for Jewish Student Life. That gives me great pride. And then there's Mindy, who just loves the Kraft family. Her aunt adored your mom, went on your father's mission to Israel. My cousin accepted, listen, this is a Jewish show. What can I tell you? This is what we do. And my cousin accepted his induction to the Patriots Hall of Fame. So I love the Kraft family, which is really nice. Now, here's a question for you from Dave Nichols. Wondering if the Kraft Foundations partner with any not-for-profits that are away from Boston that support Israel or Israeli able or disabled athletes.
No, that's not something we've done. I know we support a lot of organizations in Israel, but it's not something we've done in the past. We've done in the past. So we do some of it here in Boston locally with a great program, Access Sport America. It's a big partner of the Patriots. But no, we haven't.
So Josh, I'm gonna lead us in a different direction for a couple seconds. First of all, one of the great joys that I have had in my career is going to NFL meetings, and you meet a lot of people there. And I will tell you, every time that I came across your father or your brother Jonathan, but especially your mother, they were incredibly kind and warm, and as we say in Jewish, they were hamisha in many ways, and especially your mom. She was one of the nicest, most decent people that I think anybody could ever encounter. And I know you're very proud of them. I want to talk to you a little bit going back in your career, because you went to, I think, Williams for undergrad, and then you went to Harvard and got a master's degree in education and social policy, and then took that background and, really kind of built your career, both at the foundation, but the Boys and Girls Club. It's just a history of helping people. And I'm just wondering, I think for all of us, we all go through college and graduate school or whatever. Sometimes it doesn't translate into our actual career, but it looks like yours really did. And do you see it that way as well?
Yeah, well, I like to joke that when I graduate, I went to Williams College, and I like to joke that I have a great honor from Williams College, and that's the lowest all-time LSAT score for a Williams College graduate. So I knew law school wasn't for me, and I found my way to community work, luckily, and I'm so lucky to work with a number of great people and to learn from a number of great people. And so I was just fortunate to do that. And, you know, my time got to start the Boys and Girls Club in Chelsea, Mass, which some people might be familiar with, which was not anymore, but back in the day was a real thriving Jewish community. And it was the first city since the Great Depression to go into receivership. And I went in there during the receivership, and I got to work with a bunch of great people. We all came together, started a program in public housing, and then we all worked really hard. We all together worked together to build a great building for the youth and families of the city, like an $11.5 million building that today still stands, obviously. But actually, sadly, Chelsea is one of the hot spots for COVID-19, like in the country, because it's a tiny town and a lot of people close together, you know. So, but yeah, I learned the power of community, the power of working together, bringing together businesses, community leaders, families, and public officials, and we all came together, worked from this program in public housing all the way 8-9 years later to building this beautiful building. And I really learned the power of community through that.
Josh, will you talk a little bit about the Boys and Girls Club, the story Donna alluded to about the kids that started in the basement with you on the I think they were after school programs. It's such an inspiring story. Can you just talk about how you got involved in that and how you built
what it is today? No, I was lucky enough. The city was in receivership, and there was some federal money. I don't know if people remember under Clinton. So it would have been Jack Kemp was HUD secretary. A program called Weed and Seed, where they were supposed to weed out the bad and seed positive. So I think it was like one of the first community policing programs, and part of it was to start a small Boys and Girls Club in public housing in Chelsea. And I was able to do that, and like I said, met a lot of great community folks, volunteers, paid staff, and we built a real program through the years. We moved it out of the basement in public housing to some school buildings until we went out and had a major capital campaign and raised over $11.5 million to build this. It ended up winning some awards, some architectural awards, this beautiful building. It's really great because as the CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston, Chelsea's under our umbrella. So if I go over, the cool thing is the woman who's the executive director there now started working there as a teenager. She was in high school as a staff person and worked when she went to college, now she's the executive director there now. And when I go in, I usually see kids of kids that, you know, from years ago, sometimes grandkids. And it's pretty powerful, the power of community and from generation to generation. But the clubs are such a great place because, you know, in this program, in this country, we talk a lot about the achievement gap, but what we really have is an opportunity gap. That's really what the achievement gap might be, what everybody sees, but what the real gap is in opportunities, because, you know, intelligence, sweat equity, and creativity isn't limited by area codes. It's just that opportunities are. So by providing these opportunities to so many kids to come in through the doors, you know, hopefully these are the people, kids, families, people that will next be dealing with the next pandemic. And it's funny, I've been doing stuff with the cable, and the guy I've been talking to, he's a kid who grew up in the club. So he's getting me the technicians here like that very quickly and everything, but he's a club member, ex-club member who grew up in Chelsea. He actually was a great athlete. He played football or basketball at Springfield College, but he's got his own business that he partners with Xfinity or Verizon. but there's a story, and you talk to them on the phone. And, I bump into kids downtown Boston frequently whether they're it's a kid at a coffee shop, right, where we do our executive committee meetings. When I came out one day, was drinking the coffee before the meeting, and he came over to the table and talked about the club. So that's really nice because it just shows that power of community and the impact and what these, doesn't have to be a Denzel Washington, a famous actor. It's really the everyday people that drive this country.
So we have a video we can show if you would like to roll that. While you get that ready, Dan, Natasha asked, what advice do you have for young people who want to get involved in Jewish-oriented philanthropy? Are there many people you work with who started out as volunteers at a young age?
The second part I'll answer first, and that's just a lot of folks that start in for the nonprofit world, and I can address the Jewish question. My advice to folks, what little advice I can give is to always a lot of people say, I want to be in the nonprofit world. I just don't know what it is specifically. And I always think volunteering, either if you want to do direct service, volunteer direct service 1 or 2 days a week. Or if you want to volunteer in an administrative office and find out how advancement and fundraising works or how marketing at a nonprofit works. And then you have a better understanding because it is a little bit different than the for-profit world for obvious reasons. So yeah, I would always recommend if you're thinking about nonprofit, but you're not 100% sure, try volunteering and seeing, and then sometimes you can, that might work for folks. And then in terms of the Jewish organizations, people that want to get involved, I know like the Federation here, Combined Jewish Philanthropies, they have a great young professionals group. I think actually a lot of nonprofits, Jewish and non-Jewish, have great young professionals groups where people can meet, do volunteerism together for Jewish causes, or if it's a place that non-Jewish causes or just community causes. So look for a Jewish group that has a young professionals association.
That's great. Yeah, that's great insight. Donnie, do you have another question?
Dan was going to run a little video that he had.
All right.
That we thought everyone would like to see.
Our members come from all over Boston and Chelsea. This is their place to play, explore, trust, lead, and grow. At Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston, we believe every kid has the power to change the world. We've always believed community lies at the heart of change. That's why for more than 125 years, we have been providing our kids with a safe place to hang out after school, and with programs that help them develop the skills they need to succeed in school and beyond. Our caring youth development staff, mentors, and social workers help our members grow into their best selves. Kids that are confident, empowered, and excited for what the future has in store. Our programs are built around 3 areas: academic and life success, healthy development, as well as character and community. And our work reflects it. By creating a space for kids to develop critical thinking, physical, social, technological, artistic, and life skills, we're giving them the tools that they need to thrive. This has been your place for more than 125 years. The place to invest in Boston's youth. Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston.
You got to be really proud, Josh, right? How long?
Yeah, it's great. It's just it's a great place. One of the great things is the diversity. I think you saw it, and I think about our Charleston, and obviously, whether it's African American, Latino, Caucasian kids, Asian. One of the other great things about some of our clubs, and I think of the club in Charlestown, is, again, if people are familiar with Charlestown, you'll get this. If you're not, it's probably like a lot of urban neighborhoods, but in Charlestown, they have the biggest public housing development in New England there, the Bunker Hill Housing Development. At the same time, literally, a stone's throw up the street are condominiums that go for $3 million. 3, 4. So if you go into the club, let's say the Charlestown Club during the holidays, there's going to be a kid from that huge housing development decorating cookies next to a kid who lives in a $3 million paid for in cash condominium. And that, in a lot of ways, is true diversity. And that's one of the most powerful things about the clubs that we're able to do.
Well, it's got to be incredibly gratifying. And you're not only laying the foundation, but giving these kids hope and dreams and to move on and be successful in life. I think you know this, but for those that may not, one of the great things about the NFL is when it goes into a city every year for a Super Bowl, it gives a very large gift to what they call the Yet Centers around the country. And I can tell you in New Orleans, the beneficiary for all of our Super Bowls have been the Boys and Girls Club here in New Orleans. And it's just amazing to see the facilities and the programming and what they do. Josh, I know this is not your area, but if we could, I want to talk a little bit about sports and just and some of your experience with the Patriots. But one of the things, as I was, doing a little bit of research today and looking at your father's sports history, I mean, he and the family have literally been on the cutting edge in the mid 70s with the world team tennis and the Boston Lobsters, all the way to a couple of years ago when you bought an e-sport entity. So obviously the family knows the future of sports. What do you see in the horizon? Not so much in COVID and the reopening, but where do you see the sports industry the next 10 to 15 years going?
I'm definitely not the right person to ask. I do like to say, though, for World Team Tennis in the 70s, we were lucky enough to sign an 18-year-old woman from Czechoslovakia named Martina Navratilova. So it was divine intervention. She won, I think, her first Wimbledon when she was playing for the Lobsters. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it, and I don't know this stuff, but is going to be, your phones, your this, I know there's the whole fantasy league sports and the impact they have on sports. I could even be 2 years behind now when I'm saying this, but so much of it is access to your, I like, if I'm going to watch a game, I'll sit down and watch it on a TV. I don't want to watch it on my phone or get the stats from this or that. But I know that this now changing. I mean, you see the red zone with the NFL Network and all the teams, and it's just a different. It's just a different way than I think not everyone on the phone, but I'll say some of us that I can see right now, a lot different way to watch sports or consume sports than we did growing up.
True. But you guys were one of the early investors in the Overwatch League, right? And you mentioned sports, and we know it's hard to fathom, but there's millions of fans. And I do want to acknowledge that Lenny Silverman is on the phone, and he created Lost Tribe, which is a huge initiative for Jewish youth and esports. And when he started it, I think he called me the week or two or the month after he was thinking about it. And I'm like, okay, Lenny, I think this makes sense. And what they've been able to do as kids more and more, as you say, gravitate towards their phones. And, some businesses have actually found light and air in this pandemic and esports across all sports. If we've seen what's happened in NASCAR and a couple of other sports are going to E, right? They have really built their fan bases. So it's also a great way for us to connect with Jewish youth, which is also what Maccabi USA is. And I believe that we have a e-sport coming up, I believe, right, Dan? Don't we have a competition coming up?
We have ongoing opportunities for our teams to engage in tournaments and gameplay of all different sports games generally. And it's going on nonstop. Yep. Good stuff.
That's pretty awesome. Now, I do want to say this. We were together when we were on the phone the other day. We did talk about two Jewish football players, right? We had to do that. Nate Ebner and Julian Edelman. Tell us a little bit about them. I don't know. Are there any Nate and Julian fans on this call? Okay, you are, Dan. Bruce Apple, who says hello. It's good to see you, Bruce, with a good eye now. You know, because there's so many of us on the football field, the ones we get, we want to hold on to, Josh. You guys had.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so we had two, and, you know, Nate is not only, now he's with, I know there's Giants fans on the Zoom call. He signed with the Giants, but he's also an Olympic. Yeah, someone just texted it. His dad is Maccabi USA rugby alum, and Nate Ebner played in the Olympics on the rugby team. So great guy, and you know, Julian is a great kid and a great guy. High energy, as everybody knows. There's a lot in the community here as well. And I know Julian went to Israel on a trip a few years ago, and you know, they're proud of their heritage. I know Julian always has. Sometimes he wears the flag on his winter hat at games, the Israeli flag. And you know, Nate's father, I know, as we mentioned, I think ran a Hebrew school out in Ohio, and it's always great to have Jewish people wearing the uniforms.
Without a doubt. Well, you know what, Arnie, maybe, Dan, we should all like figure out how to get Ebner on. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
I don't know that they're up yet, right? So.
Yeah. Hey, Josh, I want to, you know, most of us on this call have never had the experience of, you know, being up and close at a Super Bowl, at a suite, you know, things like that. Just, I want to reminisce a little bit with you. One moment that I got to tell you, only because I grew up 10 miles from Lambeau Field, and when the Packers beat the Patriots, at least for Packer fans, that was a really special moment in the Superdome. But just a few years after that was your special moment in the same Superdome.
Yeah,
and that's when you beat the Rams. Can you just talk about what that experience was like for you and your family? It had to be incredibly exciting.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, for obvious reasons, it's my favorite Super Bowl. It was just so cool because, you know, I mean, I'll say the obvious reasons. No one gave him a chance. Nobody knew who the quarterback was. You know, I don't think they knew who the kicker really was, although he had the big kick in the Snow Bowl, a couple big kicks. But it was, and now they're whatever Hall of Famers. But so it was just so exciting because no one, and, you know, the team, you know, my dad's, they didn't have a real run of success. You know, they'd be good for a year or two, a couple of years. You know, it sort of was a big slap in everyone's face. Now I know they went from being loved pretty soon to not being loved after that year, but which is fine. But it was just unbelievable, as anyone could imagine. I'm sure it was the same feeling for, you know, when the Eagles beat us 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You know, a team that hadn't won it before, that people counted out, a backup quarterback. It's just incredible.
Why don't you mute someone else?
No. That was a question? We'll take it. No? We'll take that question if you'd like to ask. Barry, is that your kid? Awesome. What you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
What is this all about?
What is this all about? Yes, okay. You asked it at the end, so if you want to stay on, I'll explain it to you. We're talking about football and athletes and sports and being Jewish. Do you have any questions on that?
No.
Okay, cool. But Noah Manley had a question, and I thought this was a really good one. On the business side, right? The Kraft Group is a pretty large, diverse business entity. And what he's asking is, has your company helped advise, grow any of the great tech companies coming out of the startup nation, out of Israel? You know, one of the best.
Yeah. Right? Again, I know big picture we have, but I couldn't speak to specifics on it.
Yeah, we probably should have mailed that question in early. So
and then I could have gotten more info.
That would be great. Arnie, is there
No, I know, you know, investing in business in Israel is as important as doing anything else there for obvious reasons.
All right, we're gonna look to wrap up in a few minutes. If anyone else has any questions, Arnie, you have another Another question?
No, I don't.
Joanne Pasternak here. I have a question.
Joanne,
for you. Hello, how are you? Sorry, I'm joining a little bit late. Josh, Joanne, I was with the 49ers for a long time, worked for John York over there. But one of the areas where I've seen your family really step up and step out above and beyond what everybody else has been doing within the league is with the partnership you formed with Best Buddies and the way that you really got behind and supported Tom Brady with his network, but the way you leaned in and brought the whole organization forward with that. Can you talk a little bit about how that partnership came to be? And
and I'll be frank with you, that was more through Tom than us.
Yeah, but you guys gave so many resources to support it.
Well, it was, it's important to, our whole theory, value, what we believe in is lowering, is creating access to anyone and everyone, whether it's socioeconomic access, physical, whatever it is. And so we've done a lot of work in that field, and, we partner. Best Buddies is a good example, but it really was more player driven, and we support it, but it's because it's the right thing to do, I think. And then we work with Access Sport America, which is a similar program that does adaptive sports for kids. We do a football clinic, obviously not this spring, but every spring out at Harvard. A bunch of the players, actually, Jimmy Garoppolo used to go every year when he was here to do that. He loved it.
Hey,
You've got a great standard for those of us to follow. So thank you for continuing to lead.
Great, Joanne. Hey, did you work with Amy Trask?
I know Amy. Yes. She's on the other side. She was on the other side of the bay. But, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's right. She was at the Raiders. You were at the 49ers. All right,
yeah,
Joanne,
don't confuse the two.
We're going to invite you to be on our show one day. Will you do that?
Absolutely.
Right.
I just wanted to give kudos to Josh because he's doing great work.
Information on the NFL side, on the game side, as well as the business side as well. All right, that's awesome. Roy was talking about that. There was another really great question here. I'm going to just find it. All right, Noah, I'm going to go back to your first question. Who praises your family for all the great work that they've done in Israel, Josh, which is great. You talked about this a little bit, but do you see a ceiling for the future of football in Israel? Do you think it's going to take off much like baseball? I mean, much like baseball has in Israel, much like lacrosse has done in Israel. All sports are getting tremendous traction. Does football have that kind of future in Israel?
Again, I like to be, I'd be the wrong person to ask, but I think who would have thought it would be where it is today, 10, 15 years ago. So, of course, it can keep growing. Hopefully we'll have for an NFL player from there one day. Who knows?
That would be great. We're getting
high school and college. I could see it happening.
We would love. We're getting ready for an NBA player. We think we have a first-round draft choice out of Israel.
Yeah, we had Omri Caspi played for the Warriors.
Right. So. A second. Well, he's back in Israel, but the second one's coming up now. This really good kid. What's his name again, Arnie? We were talking about him the other day.
I forgot his name, but they're saying he's a top 5 draft pick. So
yeah, pretty cool.
That's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Donna, I'm gonna close it out. Just want to make a comment to Josh. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. And I think with Maccabi, one of the highlights of our 4-year cycle is the Maccabi in Israel every 4 years, and we'll be back there in the summer of 22. So we really hope you, and we want to extend an invite to all of your family members to join us. It's an incredible, once-of-a-kind experience. So I hope you'll be able to join us. And again, just thank you for everything you're doing. I mean, your family and yourself, whether it be Judaism, whether it be Israel, whether it be sports, I mean, you're standing up in such a global way for all of those. And really, that's what Maccabi USA is all about. Those are the 3 areas that we stand for: sports, Judaism, and Israel. And I think there's a great commonality that we share, and hopefully we can work together in the future. It's really been an honor to get to know you, and I hope everybody's enjoyed hearing from you.
Right, absolutely. Josh, let me add my thanks as well. We really appreciate all the time that you took to spend with us. Let me just share with everybody else, on the 9th, we will be back. Donna and Arnie will be back with hopefully all of you and all of your friends as well. And we have Bruce Pearl, the current coach of Auburn University, also the former gold medal winning coach of 2009 men's open basketball. If any of you know Bruce, you know him to be the character that he is. He's filled with a treasure trove of stories. I think if we ask one question, that will be done, Arnie. I think this will be the easiest thing. If anyone knows Bruce Pearl, he just says hello and then he's on. There's a lot of other great shows between now and then, so I encourage you to check the emails that you get. I know on the 8th is Post from Palestine, or Palestine Post, that Don Kent will be leading. Our president does, I think, was it every Thursday or every other Thursday, Danny?
It's one Thursday a month.
One Thursday a month. There's always a good program for that. I'd like to thank our Maccabi team. And I see Danny and Mackenzie and Steve Graber and Marshall Einhorn, our CEO, who's on. And if I missed anyone, I apologize. I love seeing Bob Spivak all the time. And with that, oh, and Shane, I'm sorry, I'm looking through. And Don, our first vice president. Okay, just don't want to miss anyone. Andrew Lambert, thank you for all of your comments. Joanne, all your questions. Lou, you look beautiful. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on the 9th, if not before. Appreciate all of you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you
guys.
for having me, and everyone have a great, great spring, rest of spring and summer. Thanks again.
Thanks, Josh.
Hey, Josh,
best of luck.